Hi. As people and institutions began resetting their normal activities, we thought this should be the right moment to understand how Indian Institute of Technology Gandhinagar tackled this challenge due to coronavirus pandemic. We meet Professor Sudhi Jain, IITGN Director. So, Professor Sudhi Jain, nice to meet you.
Good to see you.
For almost 6 months, we have been experiencing this something completely different and unexpected, this pandemic. Do you consider this was a disruption, or better, as you are an expert in earthquake engineering, was this an earthquake?
No, this was a much bigger and much more challenging than an earthquake, because earthquake happens for 40 seconds or 1 minute. It happens in a limited area, and whatever it has to do, it does it. And now it's time to clean up, to help people, give relief, give rescue, rehabilitate. But in this case, it's affecting the entire world, and it continues to affect, and we don't know where we are going. So it's a different, much bigger problem than what an earthquake will be.
So here at IIT Gandhinagar, this institution was impacted, of course. How prepared were we to face this, or did we have to manage online? I mean,
see, we had good people. We had a lot of resilience in the system. Our relationships within the faculty, within the students, within the staff, students versus faculty, faculty versus staff, they were very healthy. And that comes out very effectively if there is a crisis. So if somebody were to ask me how well prepared you were, the answer is we were very well prepared in terms of the culture and the relationships that we had. But had we anticipated that there will be a crisis of this nature? No, we had not.
But we are prepared to face anything that comes. Our attitude was our resilience could help.
I would say we had a reserve, we had a resilience, we had some assets that were very valuable in handling the crisis. Yeah.
You mentioned different groups here, because in this community we have faculty, we have students, we have researchers, of course, we have faculty, then we have the staff, and we have also workers, because there are many works being done here. The answer is not the same for each of these groups. The students, for instance, some of them were retained here, others couldn't come back because they were in holiday. How did you tell them that this was different? And how did they react?
See, this is when your teamwork comes in picture. This is where how coherent your team is makes a difference. So when this crisis unfolded in March, there was a lot of panic in the student body. There were signals that they will be made to leave the campus. There were anxieties, what will happen. And we had a very frank discussion with the students. I told them, I had a meeting with almost 100 students with electronic computer-based access to others who are not in front of me. So we had fairly large number of student body, and I said to them, your hostel is your home. I'm not going to ask you to vacate your home. And you are welcome to stay, or you are welcome to go.
How many stayed here?
Almost 450 students, almost 25% of our students decided to stay here. Many of them were not in the campus already, but at the peak of the lockdown, we had 25% of our students in the campus. And the anxieties that we had and they had was we didn't know the nature of this crisis. We didn't know if there will be housekeeping staff, security staff, mess workers. And how will 500 people, 400 people feed themselves? How will they manage to manage the hostels? And I said to them that we all will be together
On the same boat.
on the same boat. If we did organize for 2 months of dry rations, the food material in the mess storage, so that if for 2 months we don't get any more raw material, we can still feed ourselves. And I said, we have 2 months of raw material, and if mess workers are not available, we will cook together. I will come and cook with you. It will be lousy cooking, but we will feed ourselves. If nobody comes to clean the buildings and toilets, we will clean together. If with that condition you want to stay, you are welcome to stay. Don't expect me to give you the same quality of life that would have been there in normal times.
But they have to I believe they call their families out there, and they do you have any information about what was that relation? How did they tell their parents, their families, we are safe here?
This is very interesting. This is very interesting because naturally the parents were anxious. But my feedback is that many parents found that their students, their children were safer and more comfortable living in our hostels than would have been the case if they had come home. Because the conditions in the towns, in many towns, were not so comfortable. Here the students were much more free and they were able to get good food. We were also able to work with our mess workers. We were able to work with our food vendors, with our small shops. We have eateries. We were able to move them into the hostels, and we gave them some financial incentives. And we said, whatever are your salaries, you will continue to get that. But if you agree to stay inside, we will give you some extra money. And provided them decent living conditions inside the hostels. For example, first day I went there and I said, these mess workers are going to get bored. Can you put some television here for their entertainment? And can you create some opportunities for them to maybe play chess or something, right? So we were able to also ensure that some food joints are operating, mess is operating, laundry is operating. We also moved the essential service staff, the staff that manages the water supply, the sewage system, the power supply. Again, we gave them financial incentives. We said, you stay inside the campus because we will be confident that you are here. If you are coming from a 10 kilometer or 20 kilometer on a motorcycle every day, we don't know whether you will be allowed to come next day or whether you will want to come next day. So I think student-wise, it worked out extremely well.
And their reaction was also very interesting. They organized themselves.
They organize themselves. They also are, we must never underestimate our students. They are also in touch with their peers in other institutions. And they could quickly realize how well they are being treated here. And in fact, very early, we created a control room in the hostel, entirely managed by the students. And we gave to the community the email and the phone numbers of the control room. And we said, anybody needs any help, there is a 24/7, somebody is available to talk to you. And if there is anything of any kind, you can reach out to them. So this was entirely managed by the students. And initially it was extremely valuable. We demobilized it after several weeks when we saw that things had been stabilized. So students being in the campus made a big difference, not only to them, but also to the institution as a whole. The community, the faculty, the staff living inside, they were enriched because there were young people around, 500 of them, 400 of them. Yeah.
And now about the faculty, how most some faculty members were not living here on the campus; they stayed out there, but the others are here. How did they react? Because classes were stopped. They had some online interactions. But how was the reaction?
See, everybody was anxious. Everybody had this big unknown, not knowing where it is going, right? So one of the things that we did, which went very well with us, is that we didn't suddenly decide to go online for the classes. So we didn't tell faculty in March, okay, from tomorrow onwards or next week onwards, teach all classes online.
Because this was not common in here.
Because it wasn't common, and the students are not prepared, the faculty is not prepared, and you can't just throw this kind of surprises in a university. It doesn't work. So what we did was we said the remaining semester will be delayed and will start from June 8. That is Monday, tomorrow. And we said we will do the summer vacation first. So we therefore had a summer vacation, later part of March, April, May, early part of June. And we used that summer time to prepare ourselves for the online classes, which means that we did workshops on what are the various methods of online classes. We had some 8 faculty members who taught online classes in the summer, and they shared their experiences, how those classes went, what are the pluses and the minuses. We organized the hardware, the infrastructure, the software. We procured the tablets or iPads if somebody needed those, if somebody needed more computers. There's a lot of preparation when you go suddenly in online that we thought was necessary. And we did that during this 2 months plus time that we had. And we are keeping our fingers crossed how our classes will go starting Monday. But we are quite hopeful that this preparation has gone well. So that was about the faculty. They were immediately relieved of the teaching burden. And therefore, they could focus on their living conditions. For example, the campus was locked. The maid servants are not allowed to come and things like that. The daycare is closed, so their small babies cannot go to daycare. So now they have to spend more time at home, handling the child or handling the household stuff, and they're anxious, they're worried. So I think that gave a very good space for the faculty to also do introspection, to think and to become rational about the realities that are coming across. There were concerns about how we will manage this community. We have, as you know, 270 flats in the campus, and my guess is that out of 270, about 200 might be occupied, or maybe 220 might be occupied. So which means we have almost 1,000 people in the flats, and we needed to sustain these 1,000 people. So very early we created a group. We called it a special voluntary force. In fact, let me rewind a little bit. Before that, we created a crisis management group of 3 faculty and 2 staff members. And we said, you guys, 5 of you will keep a sharp eye on what are the developments happening and what the campus should do. Give me advice and give guidance to the community. So they started to function. The crisis management group started to hold a lot of meetings, discussions, what preparations they should do, what preparations institute should do, what director should perhaps consider doing, what the community should consider doing. And then we created the control room as a result of the discussions of the crisis management group. And then we created a special volunteer force. And we said to a young assistant professor, Arnab Saha, who was with us less than a year, and we said, you are the coordinator of this volunteer force, because we wanted to give a signal that this is not a group which is run by the administration. So by putting a very young, very new faculty member as in charge, we were giving a signal that this belongs to the entire community. He sent out an invitation to community saying, if you'd like to be a volunteer, let us know and we will use you when needed. And this group became extremely effective in making sure that they find out if there are some vegetable vendors who can bring vegetables, if there are some fruit vendors who can bring fruits to the campus. They even brought a grocery store to bring the entire groceries 2 times in the campus during the lockdown period, where people could buy their toothbrush or their rice or whatever right in the campus. I think they did an amazing job, and it was entirely community driven. It was not driven by the administration, by the director, by the deans. And it showed what the community is capable of doing if you just let them be, if you just give them the space to operate on.
Not giving instructions, but letting them to...
No. They decided that they needed to bring this grocery store, and the grocery store had certain conditions that they needed so much manpower to move groceries from truck to the campus and vice versa. They needed certain infrastructure, they needed certain volunteers. All of that was handled by the community. They didn't come to me for an approval or go to any dean for an approval. And if there were some small expenses to be made, they knew that they can make those expenses, and nobody is going to doubt their integrity about those decisions. Yeah. So that has gone very well. I think the faculty and staff who were inside the campus, they were able to enjoy a reasonably good level of comfort.
But again, back at the academic activities, I mean, because they even have started these seminars, online seminars. They were not used to do this.
Yeah.
They found this way to keep interacting.
Yeah. So this is very interesting. You see, we had never done, video-based meetings. And when the lockdown happened, we did the first video meeting that might have had about 30, 40 people. And I was quite myself uncertain how it will go. And I'm not very strong in using technology. And I asked a couple of colleagues to be in the same room with me when that meeting happens, because in case I don't handle the computer well. So we have come a long way from there. We are now doing a lot of meetings, a lot of discussions are taking place. Even when there is an opportunity to meet in person, sometimes we just prefer to do it online. There have been situations where I have had serious discussions on an important matter with just two colleagues, all three of us sitting in our own apartments on the computer, because why should they have to walk to my apartment or common ground if they can just discuss it? So I think online discussions has become a way of life now at IIT Gandhinagar.
And this opens new windows, for instance, to interact with people that is in the United States or in Australia.
It is absolutely opening new avenues. For example, if I were to do a physical meeting of 40 people, I might get 30 people to attend. But if I'm doing online meeting of 40 people, chances are 38 or 39 people will show, right? So I think the participation is much better and much more convenient in some ways. And I wouldn't be surprised if after the crisis is over, people will prefer to do online meetings than physical meetings, even when they're all in the campus, right? So that is the meetings part of it. I would say there are certain types of classes or certain types of teaching that would benefit by having a combination of teaching online and physical. So I think the world is going to evolve out of this crisis in a very different way.
Then we talked about the students, the faculty, and then the staff and the workers, because many much work has stopped, building work, and the workers were here. How did you handle?
So we had very beginning of the institute a strong agenda that our construction workers should be treated better, and we had put very special conditions for all major contractors to build well designed workers housing areas with proper light, proper water, sanitation, even gas connections, and workers
They live here.
They live either on the property inside IIT on the campus or outside, just outside.
Okay.
But we have systems of inspections and seeing that contractors are providing proper healthy environment for them to live and all that. So when the lockdown happened, we had almost 900 workers over about 5 or 6 of those workers' colonies. And our concern was that they are the weakest group of the community, and if we don't take care of them, we might have problems that will distract us from the main mission, and we must look after the most vulnerable first. So we created a special committee under the leadership of our Dean for Campus Development, Professor Gaurav Srivastava, and we called it Shramik Kalyan Samiti, Welfare Committee for the Workers. And we put in some money. The alumni raised some money, the faculty raised some money. We created a fund using donations. And we made this committee responsible for seeing that the workers are comfortable. They are provided medical attention and medical help, because under these circumstances, the medical help became even more critical than what it is normal. Our health center was mobilized to start to entertain the construction workers, although they are not technically employees of IIT Gandhinagar. And we authorized this committee to spend money in distributing relief materials. So the first thing they realized, for example, is that these workers are not able to recharge their telephones to be able to talk to their families back home. And the first task they did was they went to the workers' colonies and everybody's cell phone was recharged for data and for voice so that they're comfortable. And thereafter they found what are the things they need and started to distribute them. So that became a very healthy engagement, I would say, with construction workers.
And some of them, at a certain point, they went to their...
We also told them that we are not going to force them to stay, and we are not going to force them to leave. They are humans who should have the dignity of deciding their own fate. But if they were to go, we will support them. If they were to stay, we will support them. So as the lockdown opened, some of them have started to go. Some of them have in fact come back also. I will say that is something that we were very sensitive about, that we will not push anybody, whether it is students, we didn't ask them to leave the campus, same thing with the workers.
Okay. And still about the staff, the permanent staff, for them it was a really different situation as well. How did they react to this?
See, there are two types of staff here, right? One is those who are living in the campus.
Okay.
And I think they were again extremely happy with the arrangements that were made inside the campus in terms of groceries, food, safety, healthcare facility, and all that stuff. They also could compare what a valuable experience it is to live inside the campus than living outside the campus. So I think that is something that has been established in the minds of the people. Many times a staff member wants to stay outside because financially sometimes it is beneficial to stay outside. But I think some people, at least faculty and staff, would now be convinced that staying outside was not such a good idea.
But those, some of those who stayed outside, they kept working online.
We said you can work from home. We did expect the essential staff to come even during lockdown period. So if you are managing the electrical supply in the institute, or if you are managing the services in the institute, then it will be very difficult for us to manage the campus if you don't come to the campus. So we expected the essential staff to continue to come to the office.
So globally speaking, many things changed in this period. How do you expect some of these changes are to stay, or this was just for this period? Put in another way, did we get more rich in terms of conditions of feeling about what these IIT Gandhinagar are?
See, I see this crisis as a shakeout event where the weak entities will become weaker, but strong entities will become stronger.
And IIT Gandhinagar will become stronger.
I dare to think, I hope to think, and I believe that IIT Gandhinagar is a very strong community, very strong systems we have in place. And we will come much, much stronger out of this crisis than we were. And let me just throw some examples to you. The engagement with the construction workers. We were able to step up our commitment and engagement with them on a significantly higher level. We also, by the way, created another committee to work with the underprivileged sections, the financially weak sections of the two neighboring villages, Palaj and Basam.
Because this relation between IIT and the villages was already strong.
It was very high priority for us that we don't want to be unhappy neighbors. Okay. We want the two villages and IIT Gandhinagar to enjoy fantastic relationship. And we wanted to strengthen that. So during the crisis, we created a separate committee, and again, we gave them some financial authorization, and they were able to distribute relief material to the financially weak sections of the two villages. So what this is happening, Vasco, is that the engagement with the two villages, engagement with the construction workers, the mindset of the community about the value of the mess workers, about the housekeeping staff, about the security staff, I think that has significantly improved and will remain so. That cannot be undone, that cannot be damaged. So that is one aspect of it, right? The second aspect, I think, that has come out very strongly is the volunteerism. You know, we have many senior citizens, and this special volunteer force, they said, you need anything, we will deliver to you. You need food, we will deliver to you. You need medicine, we will deliver to you. You have a battery problem in your cell phone, we will find a way to solve your battery problem. Now, the kind of volunteerism that the community, including young students and young staff and their spouses, in fact, this is very interesting that not only the volunteerism was done by the faculty and students and staff, but also a lot of spouses. Now, that volunteerism is not going to go away. That is going to stay. As we were struggling to get vegetables and fruits, the idea came that shouldn't the people be growing their own fruits and vegetables? And we sent out an appeal to the community saying, if you would like to grow some vegetables or fruits in your kitchen garden, help will be available. And again, very large number of people volunteered to do that, and they are already growing vegetables in their kitchen garden. There are people who were not growing vegetables 6 months back, they are growing vegetables today. So my guess is that many of these things are going to stay and make IIT Gandhinagar a much stronger community than what it always was.
So these aspects came to strengthen what we could call the spirit of IIT Gandhinagar.
Absolutely, absolutely. I think the spirit of IIT Gandhinagar, which is based on participation, based on collegiality, based on equality, and treating everybody with respect and treating everybody with dignity, all of that, I think all of that gets strengthened multifold during these times of crisis. This is one aspect of it. There is totally another aspect of it, which is the academic side, right? I think IIT Gandhinagar student body and the faculty body has come out much stronger as a result of this crisis. And I can give some examples of it. So there was a lot of discussion about whether or not we should encourage students to learn from third-party online courses and give them credits. Now, when this lockdown happened, we realized that if there was one time for doing this, this is the right time. So we very quickly created the norms of what will be acceptable, how much credit we can give. Our faculty members spent a lot of time to curate the courses, third-party courses that were available to the students, and assign them equivalent grades or equivalent credits of IIT Gandhinagar. The Dean Academic put another team to peer review those recommendations, and we approved them very quickly, and 180 about that number courses were approved and told to the students, if you do any of these courses, these are the respective value of credits that you will get if you want to do those courses. A lot of students did those courses, and a lot of those students are very happy with some of those courses. So what does it tell you? It tells you that the faculty has now experience and confidence in those online courses by third party. The students have experienced it. And this is going to stay. This is going to not go back.
Yes, and when they leave IIT for their lives, they will take with them those skills.
Those skills that they have now the confidence that they don't always have to wait for somebody to physically come in a classroom and teach them. They have now confidence that they can actually learn using third-party online courses. So I would say whether it is the community living, the community spirit, the relationships, the soft side of the university or the institute, or it is the academic side of the institute, I think both have been very positively impacted by the crisis. And I expect that those will be very valuable for us in the years ahead, even after the crisis is over.
I'm thinking about that Isaac Newton project.
Yeah. So immediately when we first had the crisis, and there was a question that students would not come to the campus for a little while. Initially, we had just extended the with the mid-semester break by a week. So we thought they will come now a week later or 2 weeks later or things like that. So initially, the extensions were in small chunks, and we said, what are the students going to do? And there was this story that came up in one of the newspapers that said that Isaac Newton, when he was forced to stay at home during the plague, he at home did some fantastic work, which later became his major discoveries. And we used that analogy, and we called it Project Isaac. And we challenged our faculty to come up with several ideas. They came up with the ideas, and they said to the students, if you do these under Project Isaac, there might be some reward, there might be some recognition, there might be some appreciation, there are some competitions, there are some kids who made 200 rupees or 1,000 rupees. It was fun. I think the students really had fun doing those activities, and they learned some new skills. Some of the students did good. They engaged themselves nicely. Yes.
Tell me, Professor Sudhir, when you started your third term last September or so, do you regret to have accepted it? You were not expecting to have this challenge to face.
No, I think I will be very frank that holding the position as the head of the institution can be sometimes stressful. People have unreasonable expectations. And anytime you do something for somebody, he or she deserved it. And anytime you're not able to do it, he or she feels you denied what was due to him or her, right? So I would say that I have been treated extremely well by my colleagues, my students, and I have not had a single moment of regret for being at IIT Gandhinagar. I must say that. I will have no hesitation to say it has been an absolute joy. And I think the team that we have here, the people that we have here are extraordinary. We don't get into petty things. We don't get into discussions which are, self-centered, where somebody will opine based on what will benefit that person.
Okay. Yeah. In a few weeks, you will have new members of the community, new students. What is the message that you want to deliver to them?
I would say that to new students, that if you want a holistic education, if you want to become better prepared for life, if you want to acquire life skills, if you want to acquire leadership roles, if you want to do well in life, this is the place. Because we don't teach you only civil engineering or physics. We enable you to live your life responsibly and develop the skill sets that are needed for navigating the life when you leave the campus. And I think that is what is the biggest effort that we have made so far, and we wish to continue to make in the future, that our educational experience at IIT Gandhinagar should be holistic and not very narrow. We don't believe that somebody is coming here to learn math or mechanical engineering. We believe that this is what he may think, but we think that it is our responsibility that when a student is with us for 2 years or 4 years, that we give him the opportunity to grow as a person. And that is the rationale why we spend so much money of the public funds in creating hostels and creating facilities and making apartments for the faculty, so that faculty and teachers, students are available 24/7 to each other. So my take is that IIT Gandhinagar is a great place for students who want to be preparing themselves to be responsible citizens.
That's for the ones to come, and then they leave and they become alumni. Do you think at this moment alumni feel proud of having been here?
I think so. I think if you see the alumni engagement in last several years, and also during the crisis time, it has been exceptional. The kind of affection that the alumni of the institute showed towards the institute is absolutely exceptional. We have, the fundraising for the construction workers that was initiated by the alumni, and a substantial amount of money actually came from the alumni for that. The number of scholarships that our young alumni are setting up at IIT Gandhi is mind-bogglingly high. I would say that how well we are doing with the students is reflected by the response of the alumni, how much affection they show and display. And on that, I don't think there is any competition for IIT Gandhi. I think we give good experience to staff, faculty, and students, not just to students. I would say that we have created a community where people grow.
Okay, thank you, Professor.
Thank you, Vasco. Thank you so much.